Hello, welcome to Architect's Den. In today's Revit tutorial, we're going to be talking about placement of cameras in Revit, perspective views in Revit, isometric views, and working on exploded isometric views. So let us jump into Revit. For the sake of this tutorial, we're going to be using the one-bedroom apartments in the Revit tutorial series. The first thing you do when your Revit is opened is to go to the icon on the top ribbon here. Now, if you look at the icon, you will notice that it has a 3D building and next to it is a drop-down arrow. You click on the drop-down arrow, you see default 3D view, camera, and walkthrough. You select your camera. Once you select your camera, you see that the camera icon is attached to your cursor. And wherever you move your cursor, the camera icon moves with it. So to place the camera, you choose any favorite position you want to call the camera view from. But prior to placing the view, make sure that your offset height is set. The offset height is the height at which you want the camera to be positioned in relative to the ground level. For convenience sake, we usually place the camera at eye level, which is about 1.5 meters or 1.6 meters above the ground level. So the unit here is set in millimeters, so we quickly type in 1600 mm. That is going to be our camera eye level relative to the ground. So you position the camera. Once you position the camera, you notice straight lines radiating from the camera. Now the two extreme lines are showing you the view extent of the camera, while the middle line, which moves with your cursor, shows you the target of the camera. Position the target just behind the subject, which is the building in this case. The camera automatically creates a view. Now, what I like to do is to dock my view in relation to the site plan so that I can be manipulating the camera views from the site plan and be seeing the changes happen real time on the other view of the camera. So to quickly do that, you undock this view, then place it by the side here, and it docks there. So you can see your site view on the left hand side and the camera view that you just created on the right hand side. Now when you click outside this box, you notice that your camera disappears from the site plan view. To get it active again, you click on this cropped view and the camera icon comes back on. Now when the camera icon comes back on, you will notice that there are two circles or dots. One with a red sign, which shows you your camera target, and the other one with just a circle there without any sign at the middle. It shows you your clipping range. Now you can either click on it, drag it forward or backward to adjust your clip. Now when you drag it forward, you notice that you are adjusting your far clip to an infinite extent. You can keep dragging it to wherever you want to extend it infinitely. Or you can also bring it forward. Now you notice that when you bring it forward, your camera view changes. Those areas that are outside the clip plane will disappear automatically from your camera view. The more you bring it forward, the more the elements of the subject disappears. So normally I would like to keep it behind the subject and every other element within the subject that I want to capture in this view. So I will move the far clip near. Or you can also come here and deactivate the far clip. And when you deactivate it, the far clip disappears. That means the camera doesn't have any limits. It captures to infinity. So it depends on what works for you. But in this case, I am going to leave it active and just keep it far behind my subject. The circle that has a positive sign inside it is the camera target. Notice what happens when you move it. The camera position automatically moves relative to the subject. If you move it up again, you notice what happens on the other side. Your camera is moving. You keep it at a steady position relative to what you want to capture. So we can move it around like this, and I think this is okay for what I want to do. Fine. Now you can see our camera view is set. When you look at the properties bar, you notice that there's a project mode. It's already in perspective. You can also change the project mode to orthographic mode. You notice the difference. It shows you the view in 2D. It shouldn't be a perspective view again. But when you return it back to perspective view, it captures either a 1-point perspective or or a 2-point perspective, as the case may be. When you take your camera by default, it is set to a 2-point perspective. The eye elevation and the target elevation are exactly at the same height. But notice what happens when you alter target elevation to 1200. The camera moved a bit. Let's alter it to about 600. You notice what happened, the camera keeps moving. Let's say you increase the eye elevation to about 3000. You notice that the camera has moved up, distorting the subject the more. For you to do a perfect 2-point perspective with equal distances on the left hand side and the right hand side, you set the eye elevation to be at the same height with your target elevation. So that way, the 2-point perspective is perfectly set. For this area I've docked, and when you want to zoom to fit, for me I like using keyboard shortcuts. When you type ZX, the view zooms to fit and you can appreciate what you're doing. You can also adjust the template setting of the view by going to, first of all, detail level, change it to fine detail. Then for the graphic display option, you can either put it on shaded view, consistent colors, or on realistic view. But I'll work with consistent colors for the sake of this tutorial. So I am on the camera view now. I will adjust it to fine detail, adjust this one to consistent color. Once you've set your eye elevation and the target elevation and you are okay with the camera view, the next thing is to set the view template of your camera view by going to graphic display options, selecting shaded view or consistent view or any realistic, consistent colors or realistic view. Now for me, I've already set my shortcuts. So when I type 11, it takes it to wireframe. When I type 22, it takes it to hidden lines. 33 will take it to shaded view, and 44 will take it to consistent colors, while 55 is realistic view. So I've already set my shortcuts for what works for me. I'll put it on consistent colors. So the next thing is to set the background of the view. When I go to graphic display, go to edit. There you can set the shadows, the sketchy lines, the depth cueing, realistic, and the rest. For me also, because I like working with shortcuts, I've already set the shortcuts for this graphic setting. When I type G and hit the space bar, it comes out here. From there I can turn on my smooth lines with anti-aliasing, and I can also go to background, change the background to gradient. I can turn off depth cueing if I so wish, and I can also work on the lighting, but that would be a subject for another tutorial. So let us quickly continue with the camera view. I hit OK here, and everything I set is going to be okay for me. Now, once your view template is set, the next thing I want us to talk about is how to navigate within your camera view using your navigation wheel. Now, once you select the navigation wheel, you can see orbit, you can see zoom, you can see rewind, pan, center, walk, look, and up and down. Now, when you select orbit, notice what happens to the camera. You can orbit around the building to actually take another camera position. That is what orbit does for you. With zoom, you can zoom into the subject more, or you can also zoom out of the subject. With your rewind tool, you can reverse everything you've done so far back to where we started this. You can even reverse it down to the very first camera shot we took. So that is what rewind view does for you. Okay, so pan basically pans your camera at a static position. You can see you can pan to the left hand side, you can also pan to the right hand side, as the case may be. Then you center is basically to center the target of your camera. Now when you move it, you notice that there is a pivot point that is moving with your camera with the center tool as you are trying to center your camera. So once you are done centering, you notice that your camera position automatically adjusts. Then the other tools in the navigation wheel, your walk tool. Now notice that when you select your walk tool, when you hold your walk tool, you see a small dot. Now you need to gently move your cursor with the dot and it will move. Now notice what you usually do with this walk tool is maybe you want to show the client around the building, You can use the walk, open up the building in Revit, and use the walk tool to zoom around. You'll notice that if you select the walk tool and move it very quickly, your subjects may just disappear from the view. So to use the walk tool, you just need to move your cursor gently, as if you are doing a walkthrough for your client to see the building very well. So that is what the walk tool does for you from this navigation view. Then there is also the up and down tool. When you select the up and down tool, you can move your subject up or down with a static camera position. Then for the look tool, it helps you to view your building around. You can view the subjects and keep adjusting it until you get the particular view you want. So I want to rewind back to the 3D view I took initially. So let me see if I can get that one back. And here it is. I think that is what the camera shot we took initially. So we are back to it. So that is that for the camera view.